Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's 9 a.m. in Chicago. It's 3 p.m. in the United Kingdom. It's Steve and Darren with Across the Pond. How you doing, mate? What's been going on?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Not a huge amount. There's no major headlines other than I think in the US it looks like coronavirus is on the increase again by the sounds of it.
Yeah, we've had a few bad days of upturn in numbers, certainly in a few states. Interestingly enough, they're saying a lot of it has got to do with obviously some of the, the social activity that's been going on, protesting and things like that. But of course, if you take a look at some of the pictures that you might see, people wandering around without masks, people going into environments without masks, it's not to be unexpected, I'm sure. Although I did see a very interesting picture about Bournemouth Beach during last week. People travelling from Birmingham to sit on the beach.
Yeah, I think in the US you call it "Where's Waldo?" We call it "Where's Wally?" And I saw we should have had it for today. Actually, there's a picture of all of these people on the beach on the south coast of England, and at the top it said "Where's Wally?" 2020 edition, and so many people just not keeping their distance, not doing the social distancing. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope that doesn't come back to bite us.
And things are moving on the 4th of July. Things are going to open up 4th of July. Is that right? You got
yes, correct. We got bars, restaurants, pubs. We've got a lot of different places opening up, hairdressers. So I can finally get a proper haircut. No comment, please, Steve. But no. There's still swimming baths and gyms still can't open, and there's no fixed date for that at the moment. But we are moving forward.
Oh well, good to know. Good to know. Now, our top tips this week are going to be on knowing your numbers, so we're going to come back to that. We've got a good funny that relates actually to that, quite by chance than anything. Darren, wasn't it, really?
I think so, yes. We've got an inspirational quote as well.
Yeah, cool. So our guest this week is a very good friend of mine, a guy called Eldin Hasa. I'm going to bring Eldin in. Welcome to Across the Pond, Eldin. Great to have you on board.
Well,
Eldin's the host of The Human Experience. He's an author, he's a speaker, he's an executive coach. Eldin, welcome to Across the Pond with Darren and Steve.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be on your show, the Across the Pond, and I'm honored to be invited. You were a guest recently on my podcast, The Human Experience, and there was an amazing, profound experience where we talked about the kindness. It's sort of a currency that we're all billionaires, and that should be more used and experienced in business. There is a room for kindness in business going forward, not just during these crises, but going forward as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. Yes, so I host a podcast called The Human Experience. I recently published a book called Are We All Fucked? It's available on Amazon across the globe, Kindle and paperback version. It's a book about, can we thrive in life? Can we be happy in relationships? And also focusing on emotional fitness.
This Eldin, you published this prior to COVID actually coming out, didn't you? But obviously the title's quite apt given where we are in the world.
That's correct. Yes. So it was published. It's 20 years in writing, and it was published last year in December. And there is an introduction into the book saying that depending who you ask the question, are we? So if you ask the guy in the pub down the road who has spent most of his life just on a hamster wheel, rinse and repeat, going through the motions, never really applying himself into personal development, into his personal transformation, this guy will say, yes, we are. But if you ask a person who is thriving in life, who dedicates a couple of hours a day on personal development, as well as working on their craft, on their business, on their the Jim Rohn said it lovely. He said, spend more time working on yourself than you do on your job, whether it's a job or a business, as a foundation. Because he said another thing, he says, we don't get paid per hour. We get paid for the value we bring to the hour. So if one focuses on bringing the value to every hour that they have in a day, of course, that these people will be able to create the life of their dreams, and they will be saying, no, we are not fucked.
Absolutely.
Life is amazing. Yeah. In every aspect, in my relationship, in my health, in my business, in my friendships. Like Steve Brooks and I, we met through LinkedIn, and we became very close friends. And it's an incredible experience if you put yourself out there and you show up every day and you try to be the best version of yourself. You will be able to meet some amazing, incredible people who are in alignment with who you truly are. And
Correct.
as it says, kindness, it's a currency, and we are all billionaires, because if you focus inwardly on being kind, it comes back to you 100 times in so many ways without expectation. It's multiplied.
Absolutely. Paul Avins, a coach I worked with for a number of years when I was in the UK, had a saying that you only get paid on what you get done, and you know, I think that's very true. That's very true. Tell us about some of the things that you're doing right now, Eldin. You've got a couple of projects. I know we talked about some of them on the human experience and so on, but tell us about those, because I think they're really interesting.
Yes, so I still do one-to-one coaching, and I have been doing over 11 years now. And I have clients globally, United States, UK, Canada, India, Saudi Arabia, Switzerland, France, Belgium. So very sort of
totally global. Yeah.
Totally global. And I have been doing it through Skype and remotely for years. So I'm still doing that, but also I have 2 live events a month now. I call them success summits, and they are usually with a bunch of expert speakers who normally charge thousands of pounds to work with them for like 6 sessions or 12 sessions. One of the speakers, she charges $15,000 for 12 sessions. You cannot see her just for an hour, and she will be sharing her expertise in my success summit for pennies in comparison, right? So because we know that there are challenging times for many of us economically, as well as obviously globally, the economy has been hit because of the COVID-19. And I think my worry personally, it's the mental health of people, how they're going to be dealing going forward, because in my experience, and I still do a few live events now, but they are sort of pro bono, because I have a number of people that I coach for free because they've lost their jobs, so they can't afford it. And they are usually between age 16 to 25. And, you know, they lost their jobs and they want to see how they can improve. You know, what can they do every single day rather than just sitting and burying their head in the sand? And so what I found the major worry is the finances. People are worried about the uncertainty. How and when can I find a new job? Will I have enough savings to get me through the Christmas this year? And people are, you know, can't even see past the Christmas this year, because it's, you know, as we discussed many times, and you guys at the introduction, you said there were spikes in new cases of COVID-19 in the United States. And we are worried also about the United Kingdom, because the beaches are full of people, the parks are full of people, people are having picnics, and they are not keeping any social distancing. And this 4th of July, I think pubs and restaurants and everything will resume, except I think fitness centers and swimming pools. But the thing is, people will, you know, not adhere to the rules. And I'm worried that the new wave of COVID-19 will be on the increase. And obviously, as I said, in addition, we have a major global issue of the financial collapse. It's not even the crunch as in 2008, because there was a credit crunch. This is a financial collapse. And so many people are worried and trying to find out, perhaps to learn new skills, to, you know, learn something new, pay for new courses. I know Udemy is doing a lot of discounted courses, which was like $200-300. Now it's like $9.99. So, and some of them are free, to help people learn new skills, so they can perhaps shift their career. So I think that's very helpful. And myself and my other colleagues who are working with me in creating these success summits, we are doing the same thing, trying to help and create a lot of value for very little money to people so they can learn new skills and apply in their life, focusing on their job, on marketing, on their mindset, mental health, on their relationships. So everything which is important in person's life, that's what we are focusing on today. And I'm sure that a lot of people will find a lot of value in this.
So, Eldin, you raise a good point, because there was actually a survey on the UK news this morning, and I think it's 6%. 6% of people in a survey want to go back to the way things were pre-COVID. Do you think, and I think by that what they mean is the way of life, the way we've done things. I mean, we're all kind of scared and not sure what's going on at the moment, but at the same time, we're coming to the realization that, I don't know, we can maybe have a better life. We can work from home. We don't have to travel and commute. Do you think that's going to be the trend? Do you think that's the case in the US as well?
From what I hear from my colleagues, because I have a number of people who are very successful in the United States with thousands of employees, and some of them are my clients, and they have all sort of changed the way they're going to do business going forward. And most of the business is going to be run remotely, and they're going to, even to cut the costs, some of them have gone down the route of remote talent. So they're hiring people in Philippines and all around the globe because of different time zones. So it's more beneficial for a big corporation in the United States to be open 24/7. So in Manila, in Philippines, in India, in Pakistan, in some other countries. And this is some amazing talent who are paid perhaps a monthly salary that it's a weekly salary in the United States. So they're more competitive in, being able to stay in business and grow the business, especially if they had like few thousand employees. So they're going to be doing things differently. And yes, already millions of people have lost jobs globally. And what I am hearing, unfortunately, I'm very sad to hear that, but millions more will lose jobs between now and Christmas globally as well. So as Steve and I spoken about it, probably in history of humanity, the word uncertainty and unprecedented, it's sort of the right two words to use, because, this is nothing that the humanity in the recent few hundred years has ever seen. In many ways, whether it's the health issues and panic and worry and mental health issues, the suicide level is on the increase, domestic violence. I'm very saddened to hear also the pedophilia and the abuse to the children from their own family. That's on a huge increase globally. And economically, people are just, they are losing their heads. They don't know what to do, right? There's no one to turn to, because soon all the loans that different governments of the world are providing will soon come to an end. I think October is in the UK, or if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So what will they do then?
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of big business. I'm sure, huge corporations, and I think we've talked about this on previous Across the Ponds, Darren, are looking at, dispersing large corporate offices into smaller hubs to, A, save on cost, but B, protect employees from lots of contact with lots of people and being able to function. What I'm seeing here in the US, of course, is that there is there's almost a real aggressiveness in doing business right now. And I don't know if that's because people are trying to, stockpile or want to get in, are just building up resources. We've got retail here, certainly in the doldrums as it is in the UK and globally. They're talking about 30% of malls are likely to close. You've got huge retailers. Macy's this week announced that they were making several thousand people redundant to cut costs and will be closing stores. And I think actually, whilst we've all been actually focused on staying at home and staying safe and actually just trying to do the things that we've been trying to do, that actually globally there's this huge shift behind the scenes in terms of people changing the way that they work and obviously making big decisions that are going to affect everybody in very, very, very major ways as well. As you say, uncertainty is I don't even think covers it. Doesn't even cover it. Tell us about the summits as well, Eldin. Does each summit just focus on a particular area, or is it? Do you cover all subjects in those summits?
So the two this month, month of July, pardon me. So mid-July is going to be one focusing on spirituality, and that we are the infinite consciousness. And I have a guest speaker from India who is a guru, and he has been teaching since he was 10 years old. He comes from the line of sages and gurus of like 7-8 generations, father, grandfather, many great-grandfathers. And even though he works for a living, he is an executive coach and does workshops and seminars and has taught thousands of people in India and globally, and multiple books published as a best-selling author on I think the last book was more going into the spirituality and who and what we truly are, and sort of teaching people about some of the ancient wisdom which has been talked about and written about for thousands of years. So we've decided to collaborate, and mid-July, the first summit is going to be the two of us talking about this topic and teaching the skills.
Super.
And how one can tap into who and what we truly are to improve their immune system, their health, their well-being, their relationships, and what practices one can do daily to live the life of infinity of everything that they require resides within them. They just have to tap inwardly, right? So that's the first one. And towards the end of the month, we have two guest speakers, including myself, is 3. So one, his name is Sam Morris.
Know Sam very well. Yeah, he's been on the show.
Yes, he has been on my podcast. So Sam is going to be teaching about mental health and various techniques and strategies in what one can do at home. And the second speaker is Julie Ruska. She's an executive coach who charges, I think, $15,000 for 12 sessions usually. So her skills are, so it's sort of like an amped up life coach expert who is very busy. She's got like a 3-month waiting list, and she's going to be teaching in sort of her slot live, and there's going to be like a Q&A. And also I'm going to be teaching we still haven't decided what I'm going to be teaching, because I can come from so many angles, right?
Sure.
But it's going to be something that Sam and Julie are not. So, and I'm going to sort of MC the show at the beginning, and towards the end of the show, there's going to be half an hour of Q&A. So the participants of the seminar, they can ask specific questions, and also if they desire, they can go in a room and have one-to-one coaching with one of the coaches.
That sounds fabulous. Loads of stuff in there. Eldin, how can people get hold of you?
People can find me, the best way is eldinhasa.com. That's the probably best way to find me. And my handle in social media is @Eldin Hasa. And also I'm very active on LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn and type my name, you can find me there. Instagram and Facebook as well, but my preferred platform is LinkedIn. And I believe, for the last 12 years, I've been on LinkedIn. All my business, I would say 90% of my business came from LinkedIn. And also I've created some amazing friends like you, Steve Brooks. And I'm very grateful to have you in my life. First, we were business associates, and then we became close friends. So I would say LinkedIn is probably the best platform, and it's a platform of inclusion. Yeah. Everybody is welcome. and everybody welcome everybody with the open heart, open mind, and everybody's out there to assist you. If you have lost your job, reach out. If you need coaching, reach out. There are many coaches who will offer free services. If you need anything, just reach out. They'll be able to introduce you to their friends who have businesses, who might need employees. They might need expert in marketing, expert in social media marketing, or perhaps even like a website design, because there's a lot of experts out there who don't have jobs. So we can all work together and create this amazing community, amazing tribe that everybody is going to be coming on top in 2020 and 2021 and going forward, I believe.
Absolutely. Eldin Hasa, host of the Human Experience, author, speaker, good guy all round. Thanks for joining us on Across the Pond. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Yeah, good to see you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Bye for now.
Care.
Wow, a man with a lot going on.
Definitely, yes. Yeah, I
wouldn't going on.
They look fascinating seminars.
I know. We'll obviously put Eldin's link in Across the Pond's LinkedIn post as well. So go and connect with him. He has a lot to offer. The book, I got a sneak preview of the book back in November. And it's really worth a read. It's worth the investment. Some fascinating insights from Eldin. So certainly put it on your to read list for the future, for sure.
And it sounds like it's not a yes or a no answer to the question of the title as well.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the book, and it's yes or no.
No, exactly right. Exactly right. Cool. So, should we do our funnies and then, because one of them segues into our 3 tips this week.
Right. So I have an inspirational quote for today.
Let's do this one. There you go.
All the effort in the world won't matter if you're not inspired. And I think that is so true.
I totally agree.
And going into the tips that you've got to give, Steve, I came up with this one, or came across this one, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, obviously, people can see it for themselves, but the little lad saying, "Hey, Dad, can I use the lawnmower to make some extra money?" With the assumption he's going to go and cut other people's lawns. So Dad says, "Yeah, sure, you can, son. Off you go." And then the next scene, he's actually got the lawnmower for sale. So obviously, he knows his numbers. He knows he can make more money out of just in the lawnmower than having to graft and cut other people's lawns.
Which, as you say, brings us very well into our top tips this week, which is actually, guys, we're going to focus on knowing your numbers because it's vitally important. You know, I did a seminar about 2 years ago now. And it was all about financial, raising funds and crowdfunding and things like that. And one of the questions I posed in the room was, how many of you know what your actual margin is? How much percentage profit you're making? And I'd say out of a room of about 500 people, 2 or 3 hands went up. And these were all supposed to be people, quote, in business. So it's important to know your numbers in any way, shape, or form. The biggest one is obviously know how much money you're making, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this saying that turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king. Now everybody knows cash is king, and often when I bring that up, people go, "Oh yeah, I know cash is king," but they've never heard the top 2 things that go above that. And it doesn't matter. You can be, you can have as much turnover as you possibly can, but if you're not making any money, then obviously it's pointless. And obviously, making money and then having cash on hand enables you to do all kinds of other things: invest in other businesses, invest in your team, invest in maybe other equipment, and so on. Particularly at times like this, when I think we're going to see. Certainly, maybe in the property market, and certainly in the kind of commercial retail space as well. There are going to be some deals to be had if you're looking at picking up small commercial properties that will ultimately make you money down the road. So our first top tip is Ready?
And I was going to say, Stephen, I think a lot of this comes down to. I'll let you finish a sentence in a minute, but a lot of this comes down to costs as well. It's knowing your costs. It's okay saying I'm selling this for $10 or £10, but if you don't actually know what the costs are, you haven't got visibility of it, then you could actually be losing money without realizing until it's too late.
Absolutely, and I've actually come across businesses like that. So turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king. That's our first tip today. The social media wise, Darren, what numbers should people be looking at, do you think?
Well, there's two things, isn't there? I mean, there's cost of ads. You know, I mean, it's okay to say I'm selling something for $40 or £40, and it cost me $20 to buy it, so therefore I make 20 on each sale. But if you're doing adverts to go and promote the product, you need to know how much you're spending per sale. So it's okay saying, well, I spent £100 or $100, but you spend 100, but how many sales did you get? If you only got one sale, it's costing you 100 per unit. So that's got to be added to the bottom line. So there's costs, but also, Steve, there's also time. It might sound like a bit strange because we're talking about knowing your numbers, but you know, if you're spending an entire day posting on social media to get the sale, well, what's your time worth when you could be doing other things? There's two things.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think in small businesses, you know, people that work on their own, or people where they, you know, maybe there's a couple of partners in the business, that time is the thing that people forget most. And as you say, you know, how much do you value your time? And particularly right now, you know, if you're spending all day on one thing, but it makes you, you know, let's just say it makes you £50. You know, your time, is 8 hours of your day worth £50? And I think that's a real key thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I hear people say, well, it doesn't really cost me anything because I've got Tracy in the office who just does some social media posts. So I've got the admin person doing it. John's doing it for me. But actually, you're still paying that person to do that. And they could be doing other stuff. Now, there might be quiet times like now where business is quiet, so you're paying the salary anyway. But you know, you still have to attribute time as money as a cost to the bottom line. Yeah.
The other thing I think, looking at numbers on social media, is I don't actually think likes mean that much in terms of an actual business. Yes, everybody might want to follow Procter & Gamble, and everybody might want to follow Lamborghini or Nesquik or whatever as a number, but don't get caught up in the fact that your business maybe only has, you know, 500 likes on social media. If you've got 500 likes on social media and 450 of them are buying from you, that's great. But Absolutely. If you've got 500 likes and nobody's buying from you, they're just 500 people that are watching what you're doing. So, and I think a lot of people get caught up with that. For sure.
Yeah. And I think Eldin touched on the fact that LinkedIn is where he's getting his customers from. I think he said 90% of his business, or 90% of his opportunities. And it's knowing the numbers as to which platforms are working. And yeah, it's easy to say I've got 10,000 followers, 43, 50 likes per post. Thousands of people are seeing my posts every time. But if you're not getting the orders at the end of it, if you're not getting the conversions, it's pointless.
Yeah. So our final tip on that is actually, you know what your ROI is, you know, on your spend, on your marketing spend, on you know, the time that you spend. I know that there's an old saying that 50% of my marketing spend works for me. I just don't know which 50% it is. But the minute you stop, then you know that's when you find out. So. So there are tips about knowing your numbers this week. Now, next week, it's 4th of July weekend here in the US. So we're probably going to come to you on Tuesday, as people will be celebrating the holiday here. Obviously, the separation of you know, British rule. But you know, it's just one of those things, really, isn't it? You know, that'd have been better off with us.
We're working, Steve.
Yeah, we'll be working anyway. So, thanks to Eldin for coming on. We are going to do next week. We must show the two Ronnies clip, Darren. For those of you, in fact, I think we going to pop it in the LinkedIn link this week so people understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, we absolutely should. We probably should explain and finish off with the way the two Ronnies do as well. So I don't know if you want to explain who the two Ronnies are. And
so for those of you in the UK, you'll probably know who Ronnie Corbett and Ronnie Barker were, but they had a very successful comedy show in the UK for many years, and would always end their show in exactly the same way. And we're trying to do that in some way. We'll post the clip so you can see. There's also a great clip. Are we going to show them Four Candles as well, or should we show them the updated version?
We need to find the YouTube channel, the video, to make sure it can be streamed in the US and the UK as well. But yeah, we can show the modern one or the good old four candles.
Four candles.
Yeah.
So for you, for all you guys in the US who think we're just crazy Brits, you'll understand why. And for all you people in the UK who know that we're all crazy Brits, you'll have a good giggle. So it's Darren and Steve across the pond. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
See you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Cool.